Good day. Today, I want to talk to you about another single phase motor that we're going to cover in our Delmar's textbook of electricity, and that's specifically the stepper motor. The stepper motor is rather unique, and of all the motors, is that it was conceived specifically to give us very precise control over rotation. Unlike our single phase induction motor, the single phase induction motor, when we plug it in, coming right out of the box, I just have to attach it to a source of power and I get rotation. Very, very simple, robust in construction. It is the standard in many households as well as in commercial construction. The stepper motor is cut from a completely different cloth. It was made very, very specifically to give us control over angular rotation. Now you might be thinking to yourself, what does that mean, angular rotation? What it means, and we have a demonstration circuit here for you today, is we have a stepper motor that's just behind this clock face. We have a power source, and when I turn it on, what I am doing is we're using some transistors and a driver to actually send the motor a series of pulses. These pulses coincide with a very specific angular movement. In fact, with this board, the way it is set up, I can actually give this motor a pulse of electricity. And what you will observe is that the output shaft will move a small increment. Exactly 1.8 degrees to be exact. So every time I depress a push button, what am I doing? I'm actually sending a pulse of electricity through to a set of windings inside of the stator of this machine, which it translates into a pulse. This is radically different from any other motor we've seen to date. How does it do that? Well, that's the focus of today's discussion. I'm going to turn this off, I'm going to have a seat, and we've got a NEMA 17 stepper motor right in front of us. Very simple in construction. Now, you might be asking yourself, where could I find one of these? Well, the applications for a stepper motor are quite varied. Today, you could find them in a 3D printer. CNC machine tools is an extremely popular application, and we're seeing some in the woodworking industry, as well as industrial automation or robots. Now, we're going to go and look at what is it that makes this thing very, very unique. Now, most stepper motors are going to operate on direct current. This one, in fact, is being supplied with a DC power supply. So I've already taken the screws out and we can pull this apart. So we've got our two end pieces and we have the bearings. Now, what's really interesting is inside of here, it looks an awful lot like a DC motor. In fact, I'm going to pull the armature out. The thing of it is that the armature is magnetized. Oh! Now, I've got a compass. I just happen to have a compass with me. And what's really interesting about this armature is that in other motors, we've seen magnetic fields. But what makes this one very, very different is that it is magnetized axially. What that means is that at this end, I've got a magnetic field of an opposite polarity to this end. And I'd like to prove it to you. Now, I'm just going to get a little bit closer to the camera. And here is my rotor. And as I bring my compass closer to it, what you'll see is that it's actually pointing north. Now I'm going to reverse the rotor, the armature, and I'm going to bring it back and look what happens to my compass. It's now pointing south. So I've got north and south polarities, but they're extending from the extremities. So that's what they mean by axially magnetized. But if I was to bring it over here, you'll see the compass doesn't know which way to go, which really kind of confirms what we've been reading in our textbooks, that we have a armature that is actually magnetized. I want to bring to your attention this right here. The face, you'll notice it is subdivided down the center, but more importantly is that we can see that there's been teeth milled into the face of the armature. And this is a really important aspect of its construction. We mentioned previously that the stepper motor is able or capable of angular rotation, and it's precisely because of these teeth that allows the motor to operate in this manner. You would think that by energizing a set of coils in the stator, it would turn. But what happens is that these teeth are subdivided and each tooth acts like a little pole unto itself. And that's very important. Now, let's look at the stator. Now, you'll see that we've got an integrated circuit board, but that the stator as well is wound with with very distinct pole pieces. You'll notice that I've got, as you can see here, and they're actually distinctly colored pole pieces, but more importantly, if we can zoom in on this, look at the stator. You will see that there's teeth cut into the face of the stator as well. This is another aspect of the construction that allows this to operate the way it does, is that each of these teeth acts as its own independent pole piece to allow for this angular rotation of 1.8 degrees. Now, I'm going to be getting a little bit further in depth with this, but there's a few things I wanted to cover. One of the aspects was that this is part of a system. The stepper motor is unlike any other motor that it comes out of a box. I can hook it up to a power supply and it works. It's not the case with the stepper motor. It's actually part of a system. Now, I've got a little bit of a block diagram of that system. Here, what we have is a very elementary diagram, but the stepper motor depends on, I'm going to stand up here, signals that come from a microcontroller. Now, in this instance, what we have, and you can probably see the words Uno, we're using an Arduino Uno to act as our microcontroller. It is sending the information to a step driver. Now, the step driver is using a series of transistors to do the switching to allow current flow coming from our DC power supply. Now, you'll notice I've got two arrows. One arrow is to provide power to our microcontroller. The other power is coming through to the step driver that is switching larger amounts of current and voltage that are going directly into the stepper motor. In effect, what are we doing is we're using small amounts of current or signals coming from our microcontroller to activate or do switching using transistors that are going to switch higher amounts of current, allowing the motor to provide a pulse or a rotation. Now, these motors are extremely accurate in their rotation, but there's a couple of things I wanted to kind of cover. One is its ability to maintain that angular movement. And what I'm saying is that when we have an industrial robot, and if I was to use my arm as an example, when my brain sends a signal to the muscles in my arm that I want to bring my arm to a certain position, it will stay like that. If it was a machine, if I did not have my brain sending a signal to my arm, what would happen is the arm would fall down. And so what we have to do is develop a system that will allow an industrial robotic arm to maintain its position. Now, if my camera person is going to follow me, I have a small demonstration set up for you. Here, I've taken a simple shaded pole motor, and what I've done is I've replaced the fan wheel with a stick, and I've actually used a piece of red phasing tape so that we can really distinguish it. I am controlling the amount of voltage I am going to be sending to my shaded pole motor so I can slow down its rotation. There's a couple of things I'm trying to demonstrate here. One, that an induction motor cannot maintain angular rotation. Let's look at this. By turning it on, and I'm giving it some momentum, we can see that so long as I've got voltage flowing to it, I've got rotation. But what happens when I cut the voltage? What happens to the rotor? Gravity takes over. What happened is that we don't have a brake or a method of maintaining that angular rotation with the output shaft of this motor. And as a result, when we turn off the power, gravity takes over. Now, when we get into the realm of automation, that's not going to work for us. So we had to look at a motor that could operate where we could leave the power on or the current flowing without danger of damaging it. So when we start talking about your stepper motor, it is not an induction motor. The stepper motor is a DC, but we're actually leaving current on to those pole pieces to maintain that very specific position of the shaft of the motor. Indeed, when I turn this on, you'll notice that wherever I set, now here's a good place. Now I've got enough weight on the shaft that if I didn't have power flowing here, that would probably fall to the bottom at the 6 o'clock position. But we can plainly see that the output shaft of this motor is maintained its place, and that's a very desirable trait in a motor for specific applications. Now, why does it maintain it is because of the fact that we're working off of poles in the stator that are staying magnetized. Because we don't have induced voltage, or it's not working on the process of induction, if I left the poles energized, there's nothing that's going to be induced into the rotor. As a result, there's nothing unwanted. We're not going to create any heat. We're not going to run into the danger or the risk of burning out the machinery. So this is a very important aspect of its construction. Now, I may not have mentioned this before, but this is something that bears note. The number of teeth that are cut or machined into the face of the rotor does not correspond to the exact number of teeth that were cut and machined into the stator. There are always going to be a difference of one tooth. They can never be matched. If they were matched, what would happen is we would not get the stepping resolution we were looking for. Now, what happens is that when I send a pulse, and there is a video that I plan on showing, and it'll be very, very difficult to see. I wonder if we can actually get our camera a little bit closer and get a view of this. Here in our Delmar Standard Textbook of Electricity, in the Unit 34 on page 897, we've got a couple of very elementary diagrams to try and illustrate the method of operation of a stepper motor. One is this figure 3452. What happens in the process is that the microcontroller is going to send a signal to the step driver to energize two of the poles. And what happens is that the rotor with its north and south polarities wants to naturally align itself to the opposing polarities, so north to south, south to north. Now, because of the number of teeth that are cut into the rotor in the stator face, that could translate into only 1.8 degrees of rotation, and they call that four-step switching. Selectively, when we would energize poles A and B, what would happen is then the north polarity will be drawn to the south polarity is going to be drawn to the north polarity, and it would have affected another step of rotation. But if we read in the textbook, they go on to further say, if we start looking at maybe we could increase the resolution, meaning I could break the number of steps down even further from 1.8 degrees to 0.9 degrees. And this is a little bit of a trick, is that let's just say in this instance that the rotor was aligned with the stator poles A and B, and we maintained the magnetism, or that the poles were still energized, but we also went and energized poles C and D. What would happen is that the magnetic flux is equal in this area between poles A and C, and the magnetic flux of the opposing magnetic flux would be equal between the areas of B and D. And as a result, what would have happened is that the rotor would have aligned itself at the midway point. In effect, you've got now what is known as a half step. Now this is called 8-step switching. Okay, now we're back. This has really worked out well. I'm going to bring to your attention, look at the alignment of the teeth in this section, here, down here, and you'll notice that the teeth on the pole face are almost exactly aligned. The same thing at 90 degrees here and across over here. Now, what happens if, when we energized it, these poles would have energized and the teeth would have stepped to that 1 or 1.8 degrees. Now, the next set of poles. Now, when we look at the poles that are adjacent, you'll notice that one set of poles are almost completely opposite, and the next set, they're offset just by a little bit. This translates into that 1.8 degrees. So at the next pulse, now I'm going to try and move this manually, hopefully have some success. The next pulse, if I was to move this very slightly, you would see, I'm trying to do this, there we go. You would see that by moving it just slightly, I've now aligned the teeth at this set of poles, conversely the same set over across, this set here, and this set here. The previous poles, you'll see that they're slightly offset, and the poles adjacent to that are exactly 180 degrees. This is what we would call 4-step switching, meaning that we could actually, by selectively energizing 4 poles at a time, I can actually get a fraction of a degree of rotation. It bears to mention that this motor would require over 200 pulses in order to complete one complete 360-degree rotation of the rotor, which is a lot when we think of it. But if you're in the business of trying to provide precise movement of, let's say, the head of a printer, this may not be enough. And so we get into the realm of micro-stepping or 8-stepping, where what if we were to energize 2 poles simultaneously? Instead of getting them perfectly aligned, they would be aligned just a little bit offset. And then the next pulse, I would have 1 pole completely energized. And then I would micro-step and energize this pole while maintaining the adjacent poles in an energized state. And then I would actually have 0.9 degrees of rotation as opposed to 1.8. And this is what we call micro-stepping.